Let's have a conversation, not one built on assumptions, headlines, or fragments of information, but on clarity, context, and truth. The topic before us is Islam, what it teaches, what it stands for, and what it asks of the human heart. And if there is anything our world needs right now, it is the courage to move past misconceptions and hear the facts plainly. For too long, Islam has been discussed more than it has been understood. It has been critiqued more than it has been explored. But when we turn away from speculation and turn toward the actual teachings, a different picture emerges, one rooted in devotion, righteousness, and mercy. In the Qur'an, God describes himself as the most compassionate, the most merciful, attributes repeated at the opening of nearly every chapter. This alone should cause us to pause, because any faith that begins with mercy, calls toward mercy, and teaches mercy as a moral obligation must be examined fairly, not through the distorted lens of fear. Islam calls humanity toward a foundational truth that there is one God, sovereign over all creation. This isn't just a theological statement. It's a radical principle of equality. If there is one creator, then all of humanity, regardless of race, wealth, or status, stands equal before him. From this central point flows an entire ethical framework that demands honesty, charity, humility, family loyalty, justice, and self-discipline. Its pillars, prayer, fasting, charity, pilgrimage, and testimony of faith, are not rituals of empty repetition. They are instruments designed to shape character, purify intentions, and align daily life with spiritual purpose. And if someone wonders, why do Muslims pray 5 times a day? Why fast for a month? Why give so much emphasis to charity? The answer is simple: to cultivate God consciousness, to remember that life is not random or accidental, but intentional, accountable, and profoundly meaningful. Each pillar is a practical tool for self-improvement and connection to the divine. Prayer 5 times a day is a constant reminder of our purpose, breaking the monotony of our daily routines to recenter our focus on what truly matters. It's a direct conversation with the Creator without any intermediary. Fasting during Ramadan isn't just about abstaining from food and drink. It's an annual training in empathy, patience, and self-control. It allows us to feel, even if just for a short time, what those less fortunate experience, and it strengthens our resolve against our own base desires. The emphasis on charity, or zakat, is a pillar that institutionalizes compassion. It's not just a suggestion to be kind. It is a required duty to ensure that wealth circulates within society and that the needs of the poor and vulnerable are met. It's a recognition that our possessions are a trust from God and we have a responsibility to share them. The pilgrimage to Mecca, the Hajj, brings together millions of people from every corner of the globe, stripped of their worldly status and dressed in simple white cloths. A king stands shoulder to shoulder with a farmer, a CEO with a laborer. It is a powerful visual testament to the unity and equality of humankind. Yet, despite these profound teachings, misconceptions persist. Some people assume Islam is harsh where it is, in reality, principled. It sets clear moral boundaries not to restrict us, but to protect us from harm and guide us toward our best selves. Others assume it promotes separation where it in fact calls for unity. Still others believe Islam restricts freedom when the Qur'an itself states there is no compulsion in religion. This verse is not just a passing comment. It is a foundational principle of Islamic belief. Faith must be a matter of sincere conviction, not coercion. True belief cannot be forced into a person's heart. And clarity dismantles confusion. When we look at the life and teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, we find a guide who embodied these principles. When he spoke about character, he said, "The best among you are those with the best manners." He didn't say the strongest, the richest, or the most powerful. He emphasized moral excellence. When he described strength, he said, "It is not found in the one who conquers another, but in the one who conquers himself." This redefines power, moving it from external domination to internal self-mastery. The true battle is the one we fight against our own anger, our own ego, and our own weaknesses. And when he described faith, he said it is kindness to every living thing. This extends the circle of compassion beyond just humans to include animals and the environment itself, establishing a comprehensive ethic of care. These are not the words of a man calling humanity toward conflict. These are the words of a man calling humanity toward refinement of the heart, of the mind, of the soul, and history, when studied objectively, remembers this. Islam did not spread primarily through chaos. It spread through conviction. It spread not because people were forced, but because they were moved by a message that spoke to both reason and conscience. Across continents, cultures, and centuries, Islam provided a moral compass to millions, offering structure where there was confusion, hope where there was despair, and dignity where there was none. It sparked a golden age of science, medicine, art, and philosophy, preserving ancient knowledge and generating new discoveries that the entire world would later benefit from. Think of the scholars in the House of Wisdom in Baghdad who translated and built upon Greek philosophy. Think of the advances in algebra, optics, and surgery that emerged from Muslim civilizations. This was not the product of a rigid, closed-minded ideology. It was the fruit of a faith that encourages seeking knowledge from the cradle to the grave, but the heart of Islam is not found only in its laws or history. It is found in its profound relationship between the Creator and the creation. Muslims believe that God is not a distant, uninterested deity. He is closer to us than our own jugular vein. He hears every prayer, sees every struggle, and responds to every sincere heart. This is why the Qur'an is filled with verses of hope and reassurance. It declares, "My mercy encompasses all things." This isn't a small conditional mercy. It's an all-encompassing mercy that is available to everyone. It is a message that resonates with anyone searching for guidance, forgiveness, or peace, no matter their background. It's the belief that no matter how many mistakes you've made, the door to repentance and a fresh start is always open. It's the conviction that you are never truly alone in your struggles. So when we strip away the noise and the prejudice, what do we find? Islam is not a faith of darkness. It is a faith that calls humanity into light. It is a path of discipline that builds character, a wellspring of compassion that builds community, a system of morality that builds a just society, and a deep personal reverence for God that gives life its ultimate meaning. When we see it for what it truly is, not through the fog of media simplification, but through the clarity of its own teachings, we find a faith that challenges us to be better, to do better, and to connect with something greater than ourselves. It is a call to live with purpose, to act with integrity, and to approach both God and His creation with a heart full of mercy. Thank you for listening, and I encourage you to continue this journey of learning and understanding. If this has been helpful, please consider sharing it and subscribing for more. As we continue this journey toward clarity, it's so important to address not only what Islam teaches, but how those teachings shape the daily lives of nearly 2 billion Muslims around the globe, because a faith isn't just defined by its texts, but by the character it builds in its followers. When you meet a practicing Muslim, you often meet someone who starts their day remembering God, who stands in prayer with humility, gives charity quietly, avoids what corrupts the soul, and seeks forgiveness often. These are the fruits of a system designed to cultivate sincerity. Islam's structure isn't a burden. It's a framework that helps a believer walk with purpose through a world full of distractions. Yet misconceptions persist, often because Islam's moral clarity is mistaken for being too severe. But moral clarity is a sign of strength, not harshness. Think about it. Every meaningful path requires discipline. Every noble standard requires commitment. And Islam, with its precise guidance for worship, family life, business, charity, and personal ethics, offers a roadmap grounded in timeless wisdom. Take the Quranic command to stand firmly for justice, even if it's against yourself. This isn't the language of favoritism or tribalism. It's the language of universal accountability. Or consider the prophetic teaching that even a smile is charity, a beautiful reminder that goodness doesn't always need wealth, just a pure intention. In a world so often divided by race, class, nationality, and ideology, Islam's message is radically unifying. When Muslims stand shoulder to shoulder in prayer, all the distinctions that divide humanity just disappear. Everyone is equal before God, the wealthy and the poor, the leader and the laborer, the scholar and the student. This spiritual equality is a cornerstone of the faith and a powerful counter to the biases that fracture our societies today. But perhaps the biggest misconception about Islam is the idea that it is incompatible with modern life, that it belongs to some other era, disconnected from the challenges of today's world. The truth, however, is that Islam's principles are profoundly relevant. Justice is relevant, charity is relevant, family loyalty is relevant, moderation, honesty, humility, and compassion are all relevant. These aren't relics of the past. They are necessities for any functioning civilization. When we strip away all the noise and really look at the essence of Islam, we find a faith rooted in balance. A balance between worship and work, between spirituality and responsibility, between individual rights and communal obligations. A balance between the heart and the intellect, and this kind of balance isn't a barrier to progress, it's the very foundation for it. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, wasn't just a spiritual guide. He was a reformer who elevated the rights of women, safeguarded orphans, protected the poor, and emphasized the pursuit of knowledge. His legacy includes not just sermons, but real social transformation. That legacy is why his followers went on to expand educational systems, preserve ancient knowledge, and inspire incredible advancements in fields like medicine, astronomy, mathematics, architecture, and literature. These contributions didn't happen in spite of Islam, but because of it. So when we talk about Islam today, let's talk accurately. Let's talk with understanding rather than just assumption. Let's talk with the integrity that truth deserves, because clarity doesn't just correct misconceptions, it builds bridges, and bridges are what humanity desperately needs right now. Islam calls people toward God, toward moral excellence, toward peace with oneself and with others. When you see it through its own lens, not through distortion or fear, you discover a faith dedicated to transforming the human heart. You discover a message that challenges you to be better, to rise above your base impulses, and to anchor your life in something eternal. And you discover a truth that has guided millions with dignity, purpose, and hope for centuries. Ladies and gentlemen, Islam is not what its loudest critics say it is. It is what its scripture teaches. It is what its prophet lived. And it is what sincere Muslims practice every single day. When you look at Islam with fairness, you don't find confusion, you find clarity. Thank you so much for watching. If this video offered you a new perspective, please consider liking it and subscribing to our channel for more content that seeks to build bridges of understanding. We'll see you in the next one.